Hi, this is Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to my garden seed label stakes. I can't figure out what to call these, but that's what it's called now. Okay, now to create these, I like to put signs in my garden that have which kind of seeds are in all the rows. So I'm going to show you how I create those. So I'm going to come up first to my top toolbar and I'm going to select my rectangle tool. Now I'm in my Floriani Total Control. So I'm going to hold down my left mouse key and draw a rectangle. Now this is artwork, so I will select it. I will come right here into my properties box and I want to change it. I want this to be 4 inches wide and 5.5 inches tall. So I'm going to select that. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just fit it to screen for you so you can see it. I'm going to right mouse click copy, right mouse click paste. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make it now, the inside one, 3.5 by 5. And I'm going to apply that. So now I have like an inner and outer border. I'm going to come into my sequence view at the bottom right hand corner, select all of these, and then I'm going to come to my far left hand corner. My sequence view is on the right hand corner. I'm going to go to the left hand bottom and I'm going to click on my one click wonder run stitch. So I have now turned both of these into a run stitch. Now while I've got that, I'm going to change the length in here to 4, and then I'm going to come up to the top where you see my run with the plus. This is my run extra. And I am going to select bean style. I want a bean. And I'm not going to go with standard. Standard means that every 4 millimeters, it's going to drop a stitch because I told it that's my stitch length. And because it's a bean, I've got 3 repeats here. I'm going to change this to varying. That means each bean stitch in patterns of 6, they'll vary the lengths. Now I could come in here and specify the lengths, but I'm going to let them be random so it looks more hand done. And I will apply that. So now I have my borders ready, and I did that to the inner and outer borders. I selected them all at the same time. Now I needed to put a tomato in here, and I could go and look for a heavy tomato design. I could buy red work tomato designs, but I have amazing software. So what I did is I went onto the internet and I just typed in tomato line art and a bunch of tomatoes came up. I right mouse clicked and saved it as an image onto my desktop. So now I am going to load a backdrop file. Over here on my left hand toolbar, you're going to see something that looks like a scene with mountains. That's your load backdrop. I'm going to go to my desktop because that's where I left it. And I'm going to come down until I see tomato drawing. There you go. Open it up. Now obviously that's too large, and with artwork you always size it before you digitize it. So there he is. I'm going to put him in here and I'm going to make him just a little bigger maybe. There we go. So there's my tomato. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click off of this and I'm going to get my zoom tool and I'm going to zoom in on this and make this tomato big. As big as I can get it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sketchbook. Now we have a program that can stand all on its own, or if you own Floriani Total Control or Fusion, it will give you the tools available in our big program, our top of the line program. So I can buy a program that just has these features. But if I own Floriani Total Control, it comes right in. So what I want to do is first decide, what do I want? Do I want a run stitch, a bean stitch, a fill, applique? I could do any of these things to this, but I'm going to go with a bean stitch. And now I'm going to come down and I want to pick my color and I'm going to make my tomato red. Let's see where, there's a, whoops, there's a red. And now I am actually using a mouse pad in my fat finger. You can use a touch screen, you can use a pen and tablet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch. I'm just tracing back and forth, kind of just like I'm sketching it, like I had a pencil in my hand and was doodling right over this. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect because the artwork won't be there when I'm finished. So I'm just going to kind of come in and sketch this. And you can tell it doesn't have to be, it's just a sketch. Okay, so now I want you to look at this. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to, whoops, escape. I'm going to toggle off my artwork and you can see. Now if I 3D that, it looks sketched. Doesn't look great, but just wait, it gets better. So now I'm going to go back and what I'm going to do is turn my artwork back on because I need it to do my top parts. I need to do my leaves and stuff. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab green. I want to change, well, let me click off of that. It'll make my green tomato, and I'm not into green tomatoes. Let's see what we've got. We need greens. Let me see. Come in here, and I'm going to type in 232 because that's a green I want. There he is. There's a green. Okay, so now I have green selected, and I'm going to come back up to my brush, and I'm going to select that same tool, and I can also change my stitch length in here. I'm going to make this about a 3.5 stitch length. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trace over this artwork. How cool is this? It's just fun. And I'm going to tell you, all we're doing is tracing over the top. And you don't have to be an artist. Trevor does this. Now, Trevor's amazing. But he does cityscapes, and I just love his stuff. And if you look in our free monthly designs, you'll see where Trevor has done something every month. He's done some kind of sketch a stitch design that looks great. Okay, let's turn this off. Okay, let's 3D it. Oops. And let's make it actual size. Ah, pretty good. Looks just like a tomato, and it's just a sketchy. And you saw the one when it was stitched out, how cool it looks. It looks great. So now that I've got my tomato in here, I'm going to go to my text. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to text. I forget, this is a short little video. I don't want to get crazy here. Oh, now this is my plain print, and what it was is I looked at all run stitch fonts. I just want the run stitch. And when I do that, then I can look and see what options I have. Now I like this plain print, and I'm going to type in the word tomato. Well, maybe I'll spell it right. That's always good. So I'm going to put tomato. I'm going to apply that. Let's fit this to screen. And let's bring this down here. Now the first thing I don't like is I don't like the spacing, but I'm going to do a lot of things at once. I'm going to change it to 1 inch high. I'm going to change the spacing to about a -3. That means they'll get closer together. And I'm going to apply that. Perfect. Now at the bottom right hand corner I have an arrow. So I need to squeeze this in a little more so that it fits in here nicely. Great. And I really don't like the way the space looks between the T and the O. So I'm going to grab my little blue diamond and scooch it over just a hair. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. So now I have tomato, and I'm going to do it in red. Now let's go ahead and let's go back to our text tool. I'm going to get text, and this time when I click on screen, I am going to go to, I want to look at Applique Fonts. Now I'm not going to fill them in. It's going to look at Applique Fonts, and we have an Applique bean, and that's what I want. And I'm going to make that about 1 inch tall as well. And I'm going to type in seeds. That's what I want. And let's see if I like that height, or I want to change that height some. No, it's perfect. And I'm going to bring this seeds down here, And again, we can see it doesn't quite fit in our space. That's the miracle of owning Floriani software. Our lettering is fabulous. I'm going to scooch this in, and I'm going to move it over. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to select, I want to make my seeds red too. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's click on red, and that's my finished color. There we go. This is an applique font, and the way it does run stitch applique is a little bit different, but we're going to leave it just like it is and let it stitch out the whole thing because it gives it a really nice look. And so I'm going to now grab my select tool. I'm going to select my border. I'm going to select this border. I'm going to select the word seeds and the word tomato. Now I'm going to come up here to the top toolbar, and I'm going to come to my align tool, and I'm going to line everything up with their horizontal centers. There. So I know everything's straight inside this square. Perfect. I might move this seeds down just a hair. I might move this down just a little bit, so it's a little bit better spaced from the edge. There we go. Now I'm perfectly happy, except I'm going to look at how it's going to stitch. Well, it's going to stitch my borders first, and that's not how I'm stitching this out. So I'm going to close down my properties box so you can see this. I'm going to take this run stitch, and it's going to select everything because I selected the top. Right mouse click, and I'm going to tell this to move to the last. I want to stitch my borders last because what we're going to do is we're going to stitch out our lettering and our tomato, then on our front piece, then we're going to put another piece on the back and attach it with the border. And I'm going to change my border. I want it to be black, and I happen to know that's 900 in Floriani. And so I'm going to change that border and this border to black. So now it's going to stitch out the tomato, it's going to stitch out the words, it's going to stitch out the actual tomato, then it'll stitch out the word tomato, the word seeds, and then the outline. And I want to show you how this word seeds, let's go to tomato, I'm going to show you this. It's going to, well, see how it's going to go back over it? It's going to stitch a little run stitch for you so you could place fabric, but we're not going to place fabric. We don't want to get rid of that little run stitch because it looks really good. So that is our seeds tomato label that we're going to construct, and you've got that video as well. I hope you enjoyed this little lesson. I hope you learned something about Floriani, and I know you'll love Sketch-A-Stitch. Now you can get this program as a standalone, and you could have written the word seeds and tomato, you could have drawn your border. You can do so much with that program as well. So have a great day, and thanks for coming. Remember, check out my pclassroom.blog, my progressive classroom. I have all kinds of projects in there for you. See you soon.